is a great honor to have Buzz Aldrin, the incredible NASA astronaut, with us, who also has 4 stars on the Walk of Fame, the most unique stars shaped like a moon.
Well, I'm not the only one. There were 2 other guys.
Oh, you mean Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins?
That's right.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
4 stars? What are specifically?
All 4 corners of Hollywood and Vine.
Seriously.
You didn't know that?
I did not know
I didn't
that.
either. I didn't either. Like, till I came out here and then somebody said, do you know your name is...
On all, wow.
Yeah.
The reason why is because that was the most watched television show in all of history. Everyone around the whole world stopped. They couldn't believe somebody was going to walk on the moon.
Well, it took a while for them to convince us too, you know.
I have to ask you, what was the feeling?
What was the feeling?
Walking on the moon.
Out of this world. Well, you know, I could say it was like alien, but you'd misunderstand that. You'd think there are green people up there.
Was there
but
any fear?
Was that fear? Well, I've been asked that before. I've been in combat, shooting down enemy airplanes, and they're looking to shoot you down too. That's scary, okay? Because they're out to get you, and you don't know what's going to happen. Right. But in our space program, we spent most of our time, 60, 80% of it, training for things that could go wrong. So we really knew an awful lot about that. And the most important thing is don't get excited. Don't get full of fear. Cover it up. Do whatever you want. Play like there's ice in your veins.
Is that right?
Don't.
It's like Spock from Star Trek. No emotion.
Well, you need to be spring-loaded for response, and you need to know how to calmly not make things worse. Because in space, you're drifting along, you know, like Apollo 13, and all of a sudden they had an explosion. Now, if they started throwing switches trying to figure out what it was, they could have made it much, much worse.
Let me ask you, when you put your footprint on the moon, will it stay like, I mean, I'm not a scientist, but is it going to be there forever, or what's the situation? Is dust going to blow over it?
There's no wind.
No wind.
No wind. And there are a lot of impacts, but most of them are very small, and they're very slow, like hundreds of years, thousands of years, millions of years between big impacts. So it takes a long time for anything on the surface to change. There are no earthquakes or moonquakes.
So it's kind of like the Chinese theater up there, the Grauman's Chinese Theater. I mean,
well,
you put in your head, it's not concrete.
No, that's kind of messy. Besides, that's water. That's, you know, concrete. Yeah.
What did it feel like to be all of a sudden famous? I mean, you were an astronaut, you were in the military. I mean, you know.
Well, we had a little bit of exposure to that. All 3 of us, Neil, Mike, and I had previous space flights in the 2-man Gemini spacecraft. I had done several rendezvous and spacewalks. I helped to convince NASA that we knew what we were doing in walking in space. I was the first one to train underwater, you know, float underwater. Yes. You're free to move in any direction. And that's the way it is in space, too. Would you like to do that?
I would love to do it, but I think I would be afraid. Very afraid. But I have to ask you, with all that experience under your belt, what is your favorite movie in Hollywood of all time? If anything could amuse him after that.
I don't know that I have that I can think of a favorite movie right now.
Did you talk to Tom Hanks when Tom Hanks? I mean, do movie people call you and say, "Could you help me out here?"
To research characters?
Well, I wish they would, because I've written a very outstanding science fiction story that's, you know, better than Star Trek and those things.
Wonderful.
And it'll get into the movie one of these days.
Okay. Yeah. Now we know who to. By the way, let me just ask you. I heard so many times when people go up into deep space.
Mm-hmm.
They view the Earth, they kind of have a spiritual experience. Did you experience anything like that, or?
Well, I think that you have an exposure to the grandeur of things by seeing it for real. But other people can look at the photographs, they can imagine things. I think I carried with me whatever interpretations of creation and the grandeur, and they may have been reinforced.
Is there
by
is there a creation? Is there an intelligence? Do you think? I mean,
well, it's a lot smarter than I am, and the rest of us.
But I mean, did you have the feeling that there is something, you know,
greater than
us?
Well, I didn't have to go out there
to know that.
But did you get reinforced? Did you feel like?
We were pretty busy to be stopping and philosophizing about things like that.
They couldn't feel anything. Remember, they had.
But when you look out, when you look out one window and you see the Earth, and it's getting smaller, and another window and you see the moon, and it's getting bigger, and out this way is the sun, and you're somewhere in between, and you say, now which way is up and down? It's you know how you're away from one object or another, and you get that spatial sense of in between, and you look back and you see that every other human being except the three of us is back there on that object, and you intellectually realize this. You know where you are, and when we land on the moon and you look out the window and the horizon curves away and the sky is black velvet. It's like nothing you've seen before. It's like maybe it isn't real, but you know you're there. You know what's going on, but it just is so different. It's magical.
What did you feel when you landed back on Earth?
Well, you know, Yogi Berra moved into my hometown in Montclair, New Jersey, after I moved out, and what he said is it's never over till it's over. Now, when we got back on Earth, we thought it was over, but it really wasn't, because that's when the difficult part begins. That's when you start touring around the country and giving speeches, and you're a different person, you know. But and if there are changes that are going to happen, in my estimation anyway, it's not because you've been given such a fantastic opportunity among human beings to do something that'll be remembered in history. We came along at the right time.
Yes.
It's not because of doing that and experiencing something during that trip. It's when you come back, now you deal with being a different person because people know what you have done.
You were gifted. You were gifted.
And we have to live up to that. And
yes.
That's a change that is not so easy for everyone to cope with.
You're doing really important things. We talked about this earlier off camera about going to China and trying to get the countries to cooperate and work together, and we'll go into more detail about that. But let me just ask you, okay, because millions of men lived before you went to the moon and envisioned it.
Billions. And
they died. Billions.
Yeah.
Okay, you come along, you're the second man to walk on the moon, and you told me earlier it was because Neil Armstrong had seniority. That's why he was first. So you were the second man ever to walk on the moon. What is 100 years from now, 200 years from now, what's going to happen? What's going to go on in deep space?
Well, I hope we don't have to wait that long before it opens up gradually a new industry of adventure travel. A lot of people who are close to it are convinced that it's going to be too expensive, too dangerous, too hazardous. But you know, they're looking at it in a narrow way. What's going to make the big difference in this new ocean is when we start taking ordinary people, because in order to make a business out of it, and I'm convinced we can, you have to fly lots of people quite frequently.
Oh my gosh, the vomit comment.
Oh, no.
I have to ask you, would you go? Would you walk on the moon if it became?
Yes!
You would go?
Yes!
No, we're not talking about walking on the moon now.
Just flying.
We're talking about getting into orbit.
Let's talk to the astronaut here. Okay, so, okay, number one, you said the vomit comment, no.
Well, that's an airplane that it's like,
it gets a zero
if
gravity.
you throw a baseball in the air,
right.
It goes like this.
But,
it describes a parabola.
Right.
Now you get in an airplane and you go up like this, and then you make it do that, so that everything in that is falling. Free fall, we call it. So everything that's on the floor now floats.
It has zero gravity.
So we we're still close to the Earth, and you still have gravity. So technically, it's not zero gravity,
Okay.
but it's unaccelerated. It's in free fall. The same thing when you're in orbit around the Earth. You're in free fall. The Moon is not zero gravity. It's in the gravity field of the Earth. That's why it goes around.
But do you actually see people going into space just like to travel, to just like go into space and then
Not to travel.
not to travel?
No, if you want to go from one spot on the Earth to another spot on the Earth,
Okay.
you're not going to go into orbit to come down
Right.
again.
Right.
It's not that clear exactly how you're going to get from one part of the Earth to the other part very fast.
What kind of industry?
Because the
how do you
energy
make a-
required to
Right.
go there is
Right.
so enormous to get into orbit, and then you have to
Right.
come back down again so soon. If you're almost into orbit, but not quite, you may only go 1,000 miles. That's not very far. It takes so much energy to travel distance. That's why we fly through the air and we keep expending energy moving in the air.
Right.
And there's a limit to how fast you can go in the
Right
air
now.
because it's heating.
Right now, there
Maybe-
might be new technology.
Well, of
Maybe
course,
he'll be
there
our
will
captain.
always be, but
Yes.
I'm the first one.
we have advanced certain things a good ways, and it gets very technical, but the rockets do quite well right now.
We want to thank you very much. It has been an honor for me to meet you and to have this interview.
Well, when you
Your
get me started
accomplishments
to
in
talk
life.
about space, you know.
I know.
I want to hear all
it's very
about it. I can talk about it
educational. Yeah, me
forever.
too.
Well, let's see,
Love listening to
and now
you.
we're back to the Walk of Fame, and there are 4 corners and 3 guys in the.
Yeah.
Is that where we
Went
started?
all the way. That's where we yes.
And all your
Thank you so much.
accomplishments.
Thank
Really,
you.
thank you
Thank
so very
it's
much
so
for being
wonderful.
here.
Charming
And we-
ladies.
Oh,
What a wonderful
sweet.
experience.
So who's the
And we'll
best
have-
Hanks, really? I
Oh
mean,
God,
you
there
know,
she goes again.
This is the old
Did you have a
Marlene
thing?
Dietrich.
Do you have a thing about?
Greta Garbo and Marlene Dietrich had a big war
Yeah, I
in
know,
the
I-
Gold Era,
I
you know. So
heard.
we were just wondering, you know, about that.
Oh, okay.
We're both, yeah, I guess.
Tell her hers.
Gorgeous.
Thank you so much.
Okay.